For those of you who don't know who Emily Austin is, she is a very popular, shall I even say celebrity, on social media. I met her in Philadelphia a couple of years ago, and not like, oh, hi, so-and-so. No, I met her at RFK's presidential launch right after October 7th, 2023. Little did I know who I was talking to. But this is a person that constantly goes on with Piers Morgan and has a lot to say about why what's going on with Israel is a good thing that they're doing. But thankfully, she was on there also with Scott Horton and Aaron Mate, and they weren't pulling any punches about what's going on right now with what Israel is doing, and by extension, how they're dragging us in to this unprecedented moment that we're in right now.
Trust the Iranian regime as far as he could throw them when it comes to potentially creating a bomb.
It doesn't come down to trust at all, and I beg the rest of the panel's forgiveness. I'll try to stay quiet later on in the hour here and let y'all talk. But just real quick so you understand, we had a deal in 2015 under which Iran exported every bit of their enriched uranium stockpile to France, who would then turn it into fuel rods and then ship it back to Iran to use in their reactor. Now, the nuclear reactor produces plutonium waste, but they don't have the facility required to reprocess plutonium to get all the impurities out to make weapons fuel. So they had no plutonium route to the bomb. The Russians would come and get the plutonium out of their reactor when it was full and time every couple of years or whatever. Now, their uranium route to the bomb, because they were exporting every bit of their enriched uranium out of the country, was they have this arbitrary timeline breakout period. They call it the breakout point, that it would take them 1 year if they decided to withdraw from the treaty, kick the inspectors out of the country, and begin to enrich weapons-grade uranium. It would take them a year to have enough to make one bomb with. Now, the new report that came out said that on top of that, it would take them another couple of years to have an actual warhead ready to do anything with it. And I'm sorry this is complicated, but I know people can follow on this if you know anything about the history here. Let me explain real quick now that the Nagasaki bomb was a implosion bomb, a plutonium implosion bomb, which is the type of bomb that can be miniaturized and fit to a missile. But the Hiroshima bomb was a simple gun-type nuke, a uranium nuke, which is a humongous thing. Iran could never fit that on a missile or deliver it to Israel or the United States in a million years. And so if they had a single gun-type nuke or two, it would essentially be to test off a demonstration round in the desert to show that they have one, but it still would not make them an offensive threat to anyone.
And that is a very key point. Now, one thing that I have seen in the chat is that evidently this is what's being suggested, that the reason why Trump attacked Iran and authorized the attack on Iran is Iran was testing nuclear weapons, or that there was a nuclear test last night. Even if that were the case, you can't police the world. I know they think that they can police the world, but American empire, it's not in its death throes yet, but let me tell you, we as a country are going to reject Israel once and for all. That's coming. And Arashnu is right. This is Zion Gate. That's what this is. Will we have the wherewithal? Israel has 90 nukes that we know of, Tyler, that we know of. The largest nuclear arsenal in the world. If you all would care to guess who has the #1 arsenal, it's not us. It's actually Russia. And Russia has made it very clear that they back Iran. Is it really a stretch to suggest that Putin wouldn't give some nukes to Iran? Who's to say he hasn't done it already? The level of lunacy is, well, unfortunately, people like Wasserman Schultz, they do want war. Some people really don't care if others live or die. It's a dangerous time. But Scott Horton's got more to say.
And as the CIA concluded in 07, they abandoned all research into a weapons program, even bothering to look into it in 03 when America got rid of Saddam Hussein for them. And so the fact that they've had now, I'm sorry, get to your point. Donald Trump left the treaty or the agreement in 2018. Now, Piers, it's complicated, but according to the agreement, Iran is allowed to stop abiding by some of the restrictions in it if America breaks our side of the deal. They actually are still within the larger agreement, even while ceasing to abide by some parts of it. Now, that 60% enriched uranium stockpile that they built up is clearly, just as it was in the Obama years, is clearly simply a card to play in negotiations to deal away. That uranium is there to give up if they can get America to back down and lift the sanctions. That's all it is. If they wanted to make weapons-grade uranium, they could have made weapons-grade uranium. They weren't doing that. They're getting closer because it's a card to play in negotiations. And now and one last point, and then I swear I'll stop, and you made this point. Nothing changed. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, says nothing changed. They did not break out toward a nuclear weapon. There was no casus belli here, even if you accepted the premise that you could launch a preemptive war to prevent them from getting a nuke, which is a whole other argument. But even if you accept that premise, nothing had changed in Iran other than the timeline, the arbitrary timeline of Trump's demand had expired, and you hear Trump and the rest of the hawks trying to conflate having a nuclear program at all with being on the verge of achieving a nuclear weapons capability. And this is what George W. Bush called shorthanding it. In other words, they just imply a bunch of lies because they can't explain what they mean.
And that is a great point again. Now, the reason I bring up Emily Austin, who is in the middle, this is a person who goes on the largest of large networks and sells Israel's genocide as well as the war in Iran. Now, we all know Aaron Mate does an amazing job. He does his regular show with Katie Halper as well as Max Blumenthal, and they have done a great job. And credit to them because they're all Jewish as well, and they are adamant against the Zionist movement as well as the state of Israel. And so credit where credit is due. The problem is the Zionist movement and the movement towards greater Israel, of which Emily Austin supports, there is a lot of financial backing, substantial financial backing to that end. But as we've said, have we reached the point of no return? Well, the Donald definitely made a point this evening to take us to that point of no return. And now we're past it.